Hi everyone, Meteorologist Joel Kurz with your aviation weather for Tuesday, June 25th. Starting out with the flying weather Wednesday morning, some IFR out over the Gulf of Alaska and some marginal VFR up to the most of the Gulf Coast, including the southeastern panhandle around the Yakutat area, Prince William Sound, through Kennedy Entrance, and on up Cook Inlet a little bit, as well as into Turnagain Arm. Some IFR conditions for Kodiak Island and the southern Alaska Peninsula, as well as marginal VFR now moving into southwestern Alaska. Most of the IFR out well west of the Bering, and then some marginal VFR off the coast for the Chukchi Sea and the Beaufort Sea. Then for Wednesday afternoon, indicated the areas most likely for thunderstorms, but really they're widespread all across the state. Do remember that the cells and thunderstorms will imply icing and turbulence with them in each cell. So that being said, we've got some marginal VFR off the coast again for the Beaufort and Chukchi Sea, a little bit of IFR, almost a Point Hope. Lots of marginal VFR out over the Gulf of Alaska, a little IFR along the southern end of Kodiak Island, marginal VFR again along the southwest coast, and just Pribilofs right on the border between marginal VFR and IFR, and most of the Alaska Peninsula and all of the Aleutians in marginal VFR, and as you get further west to IFR. Then for Thursday morning, again, same thing, marginal VFR all along the North Slope coast and into the Chukchi Sea. Also for southwestern Alaska, extensive marginal VFR, and then on up into Cook Inlet, including a lot of the Alaska Peninsula, Prince William Sound, on over to Yakutat, and then some IFR has crept in to the coast of the Panhandle, and for Prince of Wales Island and down through Dixon Entrance. For Thursday afternoon, the thunderstorms are a little bit farther west than what we were thinking yesterday, but extensive, widely scattered thunderstorms all across mainland Alaska again is the problem. Lots of marginal VFR out in the Gulf, a little bit lingering in the Yakutat area and that northeast Gulf Coast. Marginal VFR along the Beaufort Sea a little bit, and also into the Chukchi Sea. And then for southwestern Alaska with that front and some of the wind that's going on in there, also marginal VFR. You have to go pretty far west to get into the IFR, but the Alaska Peninsula and Kodiak Island, again, marginal VFR. So, for our past conditions, indicating some thunderstorms in just about every pass. Anaktuvik, thunderstorms and VFR. Atican Pass, thunderstorms, VFR. Turbulence for Lake Clark Pass, marginal VFR in the morning, becoming VFR in the afternoon. Also for Rainy Pass, VFR and thunderstorms. Windy Pass, VFR and thunderstorms. Isabel Pass, VFR and thunderstorms. Mentassa Pass, VFR and thunderstorms. For Tahiti Pass, marginal VFR in the morning, becoming VFR and thunderstorms in the area. Portage Pass, marginal VFR in the morning, becoming VFR, and also well to the north of the Chugach, you'll see lots of buildups and a few thunderstorms. For Chilkoot and White Pass, VFR, but as you get farther north, especially as you get into Canada, you'll see buildups and some thunderstorms over the Yukon Territory. So for our freezing levels, got a big area of 8,000 feet out over the Gulf, also a little bit over the central interior, but most of the freezing levels about 6,000 feet. A good warm tongue on the eastern and northern side of the low that's in the Bering Sea, running from 10,000 down to 8,000 feet as you get up to about St. Matthew Island or so. But on the backside of the low, the western and southern portions, all the way down to 2,000 feet with that cold air moving into the system. So for our icing, some considerable moderate for the Bering Sea, particularly for St. Matthew, and some into St. Lawrence Island, also off the Shumigan Islands as well, 8,000 to a flight level 180. But as you get further out the Aleutians, expect the icing level to drop down all the way to the freezing level, which is about 2,000 feet. So for our jet stream, circulation around the low in the Bering Sea, 80 knots, going right up to about 95 knots. Some polar easterlies around that high that's stationed over the north slope. Also, you've got some northwesterlies going out over the Gulf up to about 65, and then you got to go really far south to get to 75 knots. For our 9,000 foot winds, quite a lot of circulation around that low pressure system in the Bering Sea. So on the cool side of the system, it starts out as northerlies and become westerlies on up to about 65 knots. But then on the warm side of the low, you can see about 60 knots, and it's all along the southwest coast on up into the west coast and almost to the Bering Strait. So for a 3,000 foot winds, pretty much the same pattern, just a little bit less wind. So what we're seeing is about 55 knots along the southwest coast or so, but the westerlies kick into about 55 knots on the south side of the low, about 40 knots on the northerlies as you get on the west side of the low. So for our turbulence, all that air hitting to southwest Alaska has got a considerable large area for southwestern Alaska, extending up into the Alaska Range, also for Kodiak Island, Bristol Bay, down through the Alaska Peninsula and out the Aleutians. Now, that is generally going to be surface to 5,000 feet. But like I've been saying about the thunderstorms, surface to 12,000 feet anywhere you got the cells. Gusty, erratic winds are very commonplace with the kind of buildups that we're having. Air mass type thunderstorms, heated from below, and the cells build up really, really fast. So please, file a flight plan and fly safe out there. Thanks for tuning in.